This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. Hope you're well. This is it now, isn't it? Someone asked me recently if I get nervous about these games. I have to be honest, the group games I wasn't. I felt we had enough quality to get through them. We did. We have the quality, as we all know. We just didn't really show it in the way that we know we can. But it's now that the nerves, well, they're starting to feel, because it's do or don't. Win, we're through. Lose, we're out. I've said before about being concerned about our defence. Turns out that should have been the least of my worries. Mark Gay has really stepped up in a way that, well, perhaps I was unfair in my thinking of him, but he's clearly been our player of the tournament so far. Well, for me, anyway. But just sticking with players, Phil Foden went home the day after the Slovenia game. Turns out his wife, or partner, was giving birth to their third child. So congratulations to those guys. 3 kids, though, at the age of 24. No judgment here. Blimey. But I do wonder, does that mean Foden will start from the bench on Sunday? Is this a blessing in disguise? Can Jude Bellingham now be given more of a licence instead of the pair of them on the pitch sort of competing against each other? We need a change, and this may have come at the right time. And I say that about Jude, despite the fact he's almost gone missing the last 2 games after having a cracking opener. But I think this is now the time for the likes of Palmer, Gordon, Mainu to start. We saw glimpses in the latter part of that Slovenia game. Let them off the leash, Gareth. Take that handbrake off. You know what? I have been thinking since that last game. I wonder if we think far too much of ourselves. Obviously, we know the talent that we've got. But maybe, do we disregard some of the other perceived smaller nations? Do we still do that? I'm probably as guilty. But take a look at the last World Cup. Morocco making strides. Who would have thought that? Georgia this time. Austria. Switzerland in the last few tournaments. They've made it through the groups. I don't know. Do we disregard these teams too easily? But then on the other side, I was also thinking, has a side stumbled their way through a tournament? Obviously, there's Portugal, 2016, drew all 3 of their group matches. Late extra time goal against Croatia, beat Poland on penalties in the quarterfinals, saw off Wales in the semis, and then it took a late extra time goal to beat France in the final. So it can be done. And then one team that sort of came into my mind recently, and more recently, Manchester United. They won the FA Cup after below par performances against the likes of Newport County and Coventry before they won the final. It's great to play pretty and attractive football, but if you win the trophy at the end of it, the end of the competition, that's your name inscribed into history. I don't know, I'm 2 minds all the time. As no doubt you know, this game against Slovakia is being played once again in Gelsenkirchen. Same ground as our opener against Serbia. Those that went and were caught up in it all will be hoping for less transport issues. Obviously, a similar result would go down a treat now too. No extra time, no penalties. And for those that don't know, let me just explain how the process for getting a ticket works, because I, like the majority of others, only bought them on the Friday. I think it was back in maybe late April, early May time, members of the England Supporters Travel Club applied for tournament tickets. It was then worked out based on your amount of loyalty caps, what level of tournament tickets you were able to apply for throughout. And I'm not what they call a top capper myself, but I'm still fairly high. I was still able to apply for the cheapest fans first tickets. Those group games for me were just €30 each. Now, between us qualifying the other day and Friday just gone, the England Supporters Travel Club, UEFA, and various other parties, well, they've worked to decide how to segregate the ground for each set of fans. England supporters were given 6,662 tickets. 2,391 were available at the fans first price. I'll tell you how much that was in a minute for this game. In the past, prior to being done on mobile apps, you'd pay for your tournament tickets for everything up front, and then you'd be given vouchers, which you'd then exchange at a booth for a physical ticket. Then if we were to lose at some point, you'd be refunded what you're owed, and all those vouchers that you were given are just null and void. But now, to get a ticket, you're given a sales window in which you can buy your ticket that you're entitled to. So for a fans first ticket for Slovakia that I was able to apply for, I had between 7 and 10:30 a.m. Friday morning to buy it online. Then throughout the day, other sales windows opened for different priced categories. Now, for clarity, my ticket cost me €50. I don't have to tell you that, but I want to. But you will see certain individuals, content creators, those that generally sit on the halfway line if you've been watching like YouTube videos, or those that are just going to try and gain attention by holding up inappropriate signs. They're highly likely to not be paying for their tickets in some way, shape or form. Anyway, that's how I got my tickets, and the vast majority of others have too. My thoughts on the game? Well, much like the Slovenia game, I want us to finally turn up. I'd love to say we're going to score a hatful of goals, but I think based on those previous games, I've got to be realistic. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory, and that is all within the 90 minutes. So, let's hear your thoughts.
Matt L from Bristol. This is going to be a very similar test to what England had in the group stage. If Slovakia are going to win, they're going to need to score in the first half. If England can manage the first half by not conceding and not leaving it too late to score, then I think England are in a very strong position to win the game. On paper, I would say that England should win this 3-0. But given how things have been going, I still think England will win, but I think it will be 2-0.
All right, it's Saturday afternoon. Glastonbury started yesterday. I must admit I've been watching, listening to more than that than I've been watching the football. I've been watching what's going on in Germany. I don't know about you, but it will get a little bit overwhelming after a while. Of all those sort of good intentions of watching the Lion's Den and the YouTube content that the England social media channels put out. But at the end of the day, it's just not enough time in the day. But the similarities with Glastonbury are there, aren't there? The mass of people, high energy, loads of flags, loads of beer. But it is time to crack on with the football today. And you find me at South Mims Services, Junction 23 on the M25. Proudly rated as location of the best toilets on the M25 2023, I'll have you know. It is a change of transport direction today. Plan is a coach, which may well be just turning up here. It may well be. It's provided by an England fan, Dean Cornish, who many will recognise, heading down to Dover, across the channel into Dunkirk, into France, and then on to Gelsenkirchen. Where currently the ETA down there is 8 a.m. Plenty of England fans on board, and I'm joined by one of them now, Sam Goldsworthy. You all right?
I'm okay, Russell. How are you?
Too bad. Lovely, nice day today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's can't complain. Not too bad at all.
Excited? Ready for this one? Knockout time.
That's it. Yeah, we've got to start turning up now. Like you say, it's knockout football. So if we don't play well, we go home. It's as simple as that. So hopefully they can, put in a good performance tomorrow.
You were there in Gelsenkirchen for the first one.
Yes, unfortunately. Well, I say unfortunately. That was probably the only game we won. But yeah, I'm so grateful I'm not having to use those trams to get away from the game this time because they weren't great.
You were caught up in that, were you?
Yeah, we kind of left the game a little bit early, so we were quite lucky. But the stories we were hearing weren't great, and then we missed our connection from Dortmund to Hanover, which meant we got back at 5:15 in the morning. So yeah, it wasn't great.
5:15 in the morning. It's going to be similar coming back on this coach, I think, isn't it? Go on. What's your prediction for this game?
I'm going to go. I think it'll go to extra time. I know, yeah, and I think we'll win 2-1.
I've gone 2-1 as well, but I think we're going to get it done in the 90 minutes. Sam, always good to speak to you. We'll no doubt catch up on the coach and on the ferry across.
Absolutely, mate. Good to be on.
This is a first, a chat on the podcast in the middle of the English Channel. It's the second part of the trip to Gelsenkirchen. Down to Dover, I put my faith in Dean Cornish, who many will recognise. He's been on the pod before, and he joins me on the ferry. Dean, you all right?
Hello, Russell. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, actually. It's quite late at night. I'm a little bit tired, but as you say, it's quite unique. Well, not unique, but it's just nice to be on the ferry with a load of England fans. Had a nice little fish and chips just now, and we might make our way to the bar in a little bit. Yeah, but it's good. It's so far so good. Plain sailing.
Plain sailing. Hopefully the first of two. So I remember reading books about England fans. This is how they used to get across to away games on the ferry and doing it like this. But is this the first coach you've run?
Not the first coach I've run. I've run plenty of coaches. It's the first one I've gone that's started in the UK. But I've done plenty of coaches. I've done ones from Porto to Guimarães in the Nations League. I've done ones to Skopje from Albania for the qualifiers recently. Barcelona to Andorra as well, and a few more as well. But generally, they've all gone okay, touch wood. We had a bit of strife on the Barcelona to Andorra one with people drinking and the bus drivers not being too happy with it. But this one, so far, thankfully, has gone all right. But you mentioned, though, Russell, about England fans on ferries. As you say, I mean, I've read lots of books about, England fans in the 80s and late 70s. And they used to have to keep rival fans apart on the ferries and the bars, didn't they? You'd have like fights between West Ham fans and Chelsea fans and everything else. And I think there was one famous incident where England played, I think it was a game in Rotterdam when Koeman pulled down Platt. And there was a load of fans on the ferry over. It was a 12-hour ferry, I guess, from Harwich to the Hook of Holland. And had to be turned back because there was too much trouble. But thankfully on this one, so far, the only trouble seems to have been that they ran out of garden peas and we had to have mushy peas. But apart from that, it's all good. Well,
I'll also add that someone forgot their passport. Was that right?
That is right, yeah. We had to wait at Dover for a little bit because we were meeting a group of people at Blue Water, and someone sent me a message about an hour before we met them at Blue Water saying, look, I'm going to be at Blue Water at the prescribed time, but my friend isn't. He's forgotten his passport. So what he had to do is he had to drive back to Croydon, I think it was. I'm not going to mention his name. And then drive from Croydon to Dover and meet us at the Dover docks. And luckily he managed to do it just in time before we had to get ourselves through and get ourselves close to the ferry. But yeah, he got a big cheer on as he got on the ferry, as you can imagine, and a couple of songs of "Where's Your Passport Gone?" But anyway, he made it in the end.
He took it well, to be fair to him. So yes, this is the going over to Gelsenkirchen for the round of 16. Slovakia are our opponents. Don, what's your thoughts on the upcoming game?
Well, I'd love to say we're going to smash them 3 or 4-0, but I think it's going to be another Southgate-esque performance, and I think we're going to just scrape through 1-0. I don't think we're going to turn it on. I think we might turn it on eventually in this competition, maybe in the quarter-final, semi-final, or maybe even the final. But I think at the moment, we're still going to be quite steady. I think Slovakia are going to sit deep in the same way that Slovenia did, the same way that Serbia did, the same way that Denmark did, and I think we'll struggle to break them down. I think we will break them down eventually. I think 1-0, whether that's in 90 minutes or maybe an extra time, who knows? But I don't think it'll be easy at all. You know, a lot of these teams these days are very well set up. They're very well coached, you know, and they know that they can get a draw against us. And obviously from their point of view, that'd be a big result. They get a draw after 90 minutes, obviously keep it the same after 120 minutes and maybe nick it on penalties, or maybe even nick it, you know, on the counter attack in the last few minutes. That'll be their game plan. And I think we might struggle to break them down. But if we do, 1-0, we'll take that. Get through, even if we don't play well. The aim is to get through, isn't it? And hopefully we'll be back in Germany next weekend, as you say, in Dusseldorf.
Hopefully. I can't believe you mentioned penalties. But Dean, thank you very much for joining us. I want to say thank you very much for organising the coach, as I've seen firsthand, sitting behind you, what's involved, and other people who do the coaches. It's take my hat off. I've said before, take my hat off to people who organise these coaches.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm happy to, Russ. I wouldn't say I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy the trips, and like, you know, the organisation you have to do on a day is something. But the main thing actually is the sort of months before, because you get so many questions, you get so many people saying they're interested, and then pulling out, or paying the deposit and then pulling out. And it's admin hell. I reckon probably about 30 or 35 evenings in the last 4 months I've had to sit on my laptop and amend the lists and email the bus company. But, you know, we do it because, well, it's a cheap trip for us, as in the person who's organising it. And, you know, we all want there to be as many England fans over there as possible. So we're happy to do it.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Gelsenkirchen. It's, we pulled in on the coach about 10 to 8 in the morning. All the coach parks were closed. First one's here. A good 12 hours before kickoff or whatever. I don't think I've ever been to a stadium on a match day so early. But yeah, just want to say, well, nice one. Thanks to both the drivers for taking us through the night. Shout out to Dean Cornish as well. We spoke to him earlier. For organising this. I want to make sure that I mentioned that. Ferry was all right. I think I got a bit of sleep on the coach overnight. It was one of those ones where you're like, do you know what? Am I sleeping? Am I dozing? But the things you do. It looked like Take That were a touring around Germany at the moment. At the early hours of this morning, we saw all their tour coaches and a double-decker bus going along the carriageway, the opposite direction to us. But yeah, there's about 50 of us all loitering around at the moment on the infamous platform from the other night where it was just chocker with England fans. At the moment, there's just 50 of us on a damp, wet, breezy, cold Gelsenkirchen German morning at the moment, hoping to head into town, get something to eat, get some breakfast, and we'll see what we can do with the best part of the day before the game kicks off and we return here. So it's 2:15 match day, and I have to be honest, I am absolutely shattered. I've got a little bit of food in the town. Stayed in Gelsenkirchen this time. I really didn't have it in me to go to Essen or Bochum today. It was too much like hard work. But I'm making my way now to the ground because apparently there are a couple of bars dotted around here, which I wasn't aware of the first time around. And at the moment, there's not a great deal of people around, but there's actually what appears to be the Schalke training ground. I don't know how I didn't spot this the first time around either. But yeah, couple of full-size pitches, 3 actually, just on the outskirts of the stadium. And there's a bar called Charlie Schalke, which is a 5-minute walk away from the stadium. So I'm going to have a beer or two in there prior to the game. But already there are England supporters milling around. It's interesting actually, the amount of tickets being touted in and around the town. I heard on the grapevine that England actually only sold in the region of 4,000 tickets. I think earlier I mentioned that we were given an allocation of did I say 6,662? Something like that. Apparently only 4,000 were sold. Probably for a variety of reasons. Coming back to Gelsenkirchen, people were put off by the previous issues. Maybe the fact it's not such a high profile opposition, maybe just the price of getting out here as well. But, it might be a little bit sparse behind the goal. We'll have to wait and see. But there was apparently still fans first €50 tickets available on the UEFA website, which is a bit of a surprise. It's slightly disappointing as well, but it is what it is. But let's hope that we can get through this one and we can go on to Düsseldorf, somewhere new to explore, and maybe that one will sell out more. That rain from earlier has passed us by now, but it is still looking a little grey in the skies and a little bit overcast. I don't know if you saw the game yesterday. It was between Germany and Denmark that was in Dortmund, wasn't it? Where they paused the game for about 10 minutes because of the mass thunderstorm and the lightning that struck the ground. Of course, this ground is in that same sort of western region as that yesterday. So obviously this part of the country is experiencing a little weather pattern. But unlike the game against Serbia, just looking at the stadium at the moment, the roof appears to be actually closed at the moment. England played indoors on a couple of occasions, I believe, off the top of my head. We played indoors in Sapporo in the World Cup 2002. I've got a funny feeling there was a game in the USA, some sort of friendly game, maybe early 90s, that may have been played indoors as well. But yeah, roof looks like it's on at the moment. Let's see if we can talk to some Slovakian fans. Boys, you fancy a quick chat?
But my English is not so good.
So my Slovakian isn't any better. But excited for today?
Yeah, of course. We are really excited for this match.
How do you feel you've performed the last 3 games in the group?
Yeah, I am really proud of our boys. They are really good, and they have really, really, really good team spirit, I think.
So go on, tell us today. How's it going to pan out? Can you see yourself getting through today? Is it going to be extra time, penalties? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose?
Yeah, I hope that they will perform a really good performance, and I hope every match I believe so. I believe that we will win.
What's the feeling like from your friends and family back home in Slovakia?
Yeah, they are really, really excited. They are really excited and they are really proud of our boys.
Good stuff. Anyone else predict a score?
Jaký výsledok typuješ? 2-1. 2-1 for Slovakia.
2-1 Slovakia. 2-1. 2-1 Slovakia. All right. I wish you all the best. Have a good game. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much. See you.
Yeah. And welcome back to the Veltins Arena. Would you believe that my ticket is 4 seats along from the same ticket I had for the Serbia game? Same row, same block, just 4 seats along. Let's have a look around for some flags. We've got Notts County, Savage Boy, Middlesbrough, Infant Hercules, Leicester City, Doncaster. Remember that one from Cologne. There's a couple of Reading ones there. Derby one, Portsmouth. Yes, back at the Veltins Arena. Big TV hanging from the top. They've opened the roof actually. From what it looked from the outside earlier, the roof was closed. It's open now. I don't know how long it takes them to open that. But yeah, blue seats all around. It's got Schalke 04 onto the right hand side of me. Once again, loads of England flags hanging from the side there. Even at the opposite end to me, there's England flags hanging in what I'm perceiving to be the Slovakian end. It's been strange actually today. I don't know if the weather has sort of dampened spirits a little bit. I was in Gelsenkirchen in the town earlier on today. You have to excuse me. I don't know whether they actually call it a city or a town. There was a fellow with a cardboard sign handwritten, and it said Gelsenkirchen is a beautiful city, obviously in relation to the comments made about it by England fans. But yeah, it just seemed subdued. Maybe we were in the Schalke bar earlier that I mentioned, and it was just hard to get a few songs going. To be honest, it was a little bit strange. So I'm really not sure about the atmosphere. In the town centre, there were a fair few England fans around, but no real songs being sung. So I really don't know what the feeling is, other than my own feeling of general tiredness. Hopefully, for 90 minutes, we can all pull it out of the bag. Looks like the England team have arrived. They're showing them up on the big screen. There's Jared Bowen, Lewis Dunk. I can see. Just about to walk up out onto the pitch. So with an hour to go, as I say, that the team have been out for a pre-match amble over the Gelsenkirchen turf. The starting 11 has now been announced. One change from the last game against Slovenia in Cologne, wasn't it? So many games now, it's hard to remember who we played, where we played. But let's just run through this lineup. Pickford, Walker, Bryce, Stones, Gay. Already spoken about how good Mark Gay has played. Saka, Kane, Bellingham, Foden, Trippier, and Mainu. Mainu is the one change, replacing Conor Gallagher in the opening lineup. I have to say, I think I've mentioned earlier about hoping for Palmer to start, maybe Gordon. I haven't got my wish, it seems. I don't know if any other England fans were wishing the same, but that is our starting 11. Come on, boys, this time. And 16 minutes in, and to be fair, it's been a fairly open game, but England already 3 yellow cards. Kobe Mainu got one, Mark Gay, and now Jude Bellingham got one. Frustrating. I mean, they should have scored maybe from an earlier chance where they crossed the goal. Open. Any team can score here. I think it's that open, but silly yellow cards like that may cost us either in this game or the next game. Kieran Trippier had an opportunity which just skied almost into the upper tier. I don't know if it hit a bobble. But Slovakia are having plenty of the ball, and England's passing at times has been short, to put it bluntly. It was not so feet enough. 25 minutes had been on the cards. Slovakia 1 up. Simple threaded ball. Their players just got ahead of Gay. Slotted it past Pickford. Not good enough. Number 26. Schranz.
Slovakia, the player number 26, Ivan Schranz.
He's the player that scored their other goals in the group games.
Ivan Schranz. New score, England 0, Slovakia 1. With England by the goal, Slovakia points.
Every opportunity Slovakia are going to time waste. Their keeper takes his time over a goal kick. Players go down. I'm taking their time. We're going to have to get used to this. Once again, booze. Half time. Don't know what else can be said that hasn't been said already. Not good enough. Have to have some changes in the second half. About Palmer on, maybe Gordon on. I don't know. Changes have to be made. 45 minutes to save this now.
Shocking. The team's come back out, decided not to make any changes. It's the same 11 that started the first half. I'm beginning to scratch my head. I'm baffled. We need the changes. We need some more impetus. We need a bit more passion, a bit more speed. We need to be first to the ball, and it's not happening. Oh, Phil Foden put it in right and start the second half. It's gone so far. I've said umpteen times about how much I hate, but disallowed, offside. Goal disallowed, offside. England's player number 11 was in an offside position, was played the ball before scoring the goal. How we didn't go 2-0 down there, I've no idea. John Stone's lazily giving the ball away, and their fella's just come in and just inside his own half. Pickford was well out of his goal. Fortunately, he's gone just past the post. It's just, I don't know. Rice hits the post. Come on, England! 83 minutes. SA on for Mainu. Time after time after time. Late substitutes. Too late to change the game. Clock flicks for 90 minutes. 6 minutes injury time.
Let's lost the voice, mate.
How has that happened? Oh, my head! Oh, my word, last minute! Bellingham overhead! We don't deserve that. We don't deserve that. Extra time now, surely. Oh, my word. I'm going to be honest. Slovakia don't deserve that. Oh, that is a get out of jail card. Proper get out of jail card. We don't deserve that. Jude Bellingham, though. Opening goal in that first game. Last minute equaliser. 5 minutes into injury time. If you're going to get a goal like that, do it overhead. Extra time. Been here before. Genuinely think Gareth Southgate was a minute from walking out. He's got an extra half an hour as England manager, minimum. That can change in the space of a minute. Half time. Extra time. What a turnaround. What an absolute turnaround. We were dead and buried that whole game. Jude scores in the last minute. Last minute of the 5 minutes of injury time. extra time starts and Harry Kane is heading in with a minute of extra time played. My word. I think I said earlier we got out of jail. Massively out of jail. Don't throw this away.
Do you know what? I'm normally very positive, but at the end of that game, or the end of 94 minutes, I was so anti Gareth Southgate. I was absolutely distraught, and we were going to throw it away. Such a good chance to get far in this tournament. At 94 minutes, we're losing to Slovakia. I was thinking, what is going on? And then 30 seconds later, Ivan Toney, what a little flick on. Jude Bellingham, clutch player, creates an incredible goal, and it's the whole mood has completely changed. I was so dejected about half an hour ago, but now absolutely elated. And obviously Harry Kane's goal as well, the winner, absolutely brilliant. Harry Kane's now got 2 goals. Bellingham's got 2 goals. I think they're both the 2 top scorers, and we've been slating them a little bit. Absolutely incredible. What an atmosphere in that end. Limbs when the equaliser went in, and in the winner, there was people all over the place in the England end. It was absolutely blooming brilliant. Loved it.
Sam.
Oh, mate, where do you start with that one? Up until about, like you say, up until the equaliser, I was full of anger. You know, it felt Iceland 2.0 all over again. But people can say, oh, we were lucky. But if you're not allowed to enjoy moments like that, why are we in football? Why do we watch England? Why do we watch football if you're not allowed to enjoy moments like that? You know, Bellingham comes out of absolutely nowhere after, well, to be fair, they've all had a poor game, and comes out of nowhere and pulls, you know, a rabbit out of the hat like that. And then, you know, the momentum is with us then. We get that winner. And there was a couple of sticky bits at the end, but we've managed to just about see it through. But we're very lucky.
No other sport can do that. No other sport can have it where you can be so poor yet still get a win. You know, rugby, or particularly rugby, the best team always wins. Football, you can be absolutely terrible for 94 minutes, get an equaliser, and you win the game. Nothing like it.
All I would say is England fans were absolutely fantastic from the start to the end. 94th minute, they were slagging South Africa off, and then Kane equalised, and it was like magic, mate. Absolute magic. I've never witnessed a game like that in my life, I tell you. Scouts over and out.
Slow start, bit dull, bit boring, and then lucky late on. Just lucky changes, long ball into the box, and happy days. Jude's take us to extra time, and then Tony's header back in. Kane, good finish, job done. Was in doubt, never in doubt.
It was here, wasn't it?
But we're through the next round. That's the main thing. So
absolutely, you want to go?
I feel broken, honestly. Feel broken, but I think we needed that to kickstart something.
That's got to be
without it, I think we were out, weren't we? Really, but we've got to use it as a catalyst to go forward. Absolutely.
Some thoughts of the fans there. Now, I have to say my voice was shot following full time, and I don't think the air conditioning on the coach done it any favours either. But we all got home safe and sound, and I must say, having a full English breakfast at 3 a.m. on the ferry was I wasn't anticipating, but appreciated, but a bizarre moment. Now, the day before our game, Switzerland faced holders Italy. We knew that we would face the winners of that game in the quarterfinals, should we have beaten Slovakia, of course. That we did, and our opponents are to be Switzerland as they beat Italy 2-0. We'll face them on Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time in Dusseldorf. I'll come to Switzerland in a moment, but let's just take a look at the quarter-final lineup at the time of recording. I guess the big one is Spain against Germany. although equally as big is Portugal against France. Both of those, Friday the 5th. That's in the other side of the draw, as it were. I can't have been the only one that laughed out loud when Ronaldo missed his penalty during that game against Slovenia, and also his numerous free kicks. And then when he started crying, I did laugh again there. It's part of the game now, though, isn't it? Where it seems, or it appears, some players feel that they are bigger than the game, or you get supporters, people who follow the players more so than a team. I find that strange. He seems grounded enough, though, but I'd hope that in the future the likes of Bellingham don't go that way. He seems too grounded. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But of course, we have seen it in the past with Beckham and like the publicity he courted, just being a global superstar in the same way as Ronaldo, Messi as well. Now, the other quarter-final is yet to be determined as I'm recording before Romania have played the Netherlands and Austria have played Turkey. Now back to Switzerland, a nation we have met on 27 occasions, winning 18, drawing 6 and only losing on 3 occasions. Now, we last met in a friendly in 2022, 2-1 victory in our favour there. But we have faced each other in previous Euros. Cast your mind back to 2004, where we won 3-0, and of course the opener in Euro 96, that 1-1 draw. Now, the Swiss got to this point by finishing second in Group A behind Germany. They won 1 and drew 2, beating Hungary and then draws with Germany and Scotland. They've proved themselves to be a strong side in the tournament. A surprise to some, I'd think. But I'm pleased to be joined by Swiss football expert Craig King, who can tell us a little more about them ahead of the game. Hello, Craig.
Hi, thanks for having me on again.
No, you're more than welcome. Good to have you back on. Yeah, Swiss football expert. Let's just cover the obvious. There's a Scottish accent there. Just tell us quickly how the Swiss infatuation came about.
Yeah, so it's my number one priority when I have to, when I'm fortunate enough to do podcasts and whatever else. I have to always explain the accent first and foremost, so that I don't come on and catch people off guard. But yeah, basically about 10 years ago now, I randomly switched on an FC Basel game in the Champions League, playing a Romanian team that that doesn't exist anymore as far as I'm aware. And they won that game. And again, it was something about the kits that I liked, and I thought I'm going to just try and follow the results and things like that. They played Manchester United at Old Trafford next. That was the next opportunity I got to watch them. They drew that game. They conceded in the last minute, or else they would have got the 3 points and had a really famous victory. But they ended up qualifying ahead of Man United that year. And I kept just watching their games, started branching out to the actual league itself. And then there wasn't anywhere on Twitter or social media really for Swiss football in English like there is for some of the bigger leagues and, of course, some of the smaller leagues like Switzerland. And I decided to start trying to cover the entire league. And now, 10 years on, I basically cover every kind of aspect about Swiss football, which I never expected that would be a direction that I would go in, or that I would get that invested when I watched that one match all those years ago. But yeah, that's kind of how it just came about.
No, it's great. It's great to sort of tap into your knowledge. Switzerland, I mean, was it a realistic expectation to get this far? Because tournaments of late, results have been fairly positive, sort of qualifying through the groups. But have the Swiss been sort of aiming for this far, do you think?
I think so, definitely in recent years, in 2014, 2016. It was good to get back to major tournaments regularly, because Switzerland went through a period where they maybe qualifying for one and then maybe not the next one or the next two. In 2008, they were hosting, so there was always a lot of times where the qualification wasn't really certain, and they've now started qualifying regularly. So 2014, 2016, it was a case of, kind of happy to be there, but in the groups, we can maybe see if we can get out of the group and go from there. And they did that. But then maybe 2016, 2018, it started to get a little like, where's the progress going to come next? Because they kept making the last 16, but then falling short. 2014, they gave Argentina such a good game and got to extra time and eventually lost. And then against Poland and Sweden at the next two tournaments, those were games that were seen as a real opportunity to go ahead and take that next step. And they kind of underwhelmed in those games. In 2018, they actually would have went on to play England at the quarter-final stage after they beat Sweden. But yeah, that didn't come to pass. And then when they came up against France, the objective was still, let's try and get out of the group and then get to the last 16. And of course, to get to the last 16 again, and they're matched up with France, and it's like, well, it's not going to happen again here because it's France. And, we'll just need to kind of exit at this stage once again. And it was more frustrating because at that point, a lot of pundits, at least in the UK, were of the opinion that Switzerland just kind of reached a level at the last 16 and that's all they got. That's the point they get to, and then they kind of go home sort of thing. So what happened against France and the manner it happened, it's simply one of the biggest moments in Swiss football history. I'm not exaggerating that. It's still talked about fondly. And after that, it kind of seemed like anything was possible. They went into Spain in the quarter-final of Euro 2020 and they were totally fearless. They took them to the penalty shootout and the cards didn't fall their way on that occasion. So then going into the World Cup and this tournament now, first and foremost, always to get out of the group and then see where it takes you and see who you're playing. But there's not really a fear associated with any team now that Switzerland come up against. The bigger teams, obviously, there's going to be the expectation that they'll probably exit, but there's no reason why they can't give them a game and maybe cause a shock like they did against France. So the expectation levels have certainly risen over the last couple of years. In some ways, it's not such a good thing because when they played teams like Hungary and Scotland in the group stage, it was almost an arrogance that Switzerland should win that game, when in reality, I don't think Switzerland are miles better than Hungary or Scotland. Scotland obviously didn't play particularly well at the tournament, but I don't think there's much between those teams. And when they kind of struggled in the second half against Hungary and when they drew with Scotland, there was a kind of feeling like, why are we not winning these games? And that can be frustrating because, as I say, that rise has led to some arrogance, but there's also a confidence there that this team can take on anyone.
Gotcha. I was going to mention the Scotland game. Was that a little bit of a conflict of interest for you?
Oh, absolutely. I for a long time, whenever there's been draws for qualification or a major tournament itself, I've kind of always wanted this scenario where Switzerland and Scotland would meet, two worlds collide and all that sort of stuff. And then it finally happened, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. It couldn't have gone better. And then even before the tournament, I was, still pleased. And then it got to the day of the game, and the game got closer, and I was like, I don't know if I really like this anymore. And then the game started, and it was just really strange because I've always rooted for Scotland my entire life.
Of course.
But it's unavoidable that in the last 10 years I've rooted for Switzerland as well. So to then be rooting against Switzerland, it was very, very strange. So when Shaqiri scored, part of me is like, well, that's really disappointing because Scotland conceded the goal. But the other side of me is like, well, that's Shaqiri. I know he can do that. I've been talking about him for so long. So yeah, it was definitely a strange scenario, but I'm kind of glad it finished as it did, one each, because I think I'd have been slightly disappointed either way, regardless of how the result went.
Yeah, this fixture's going to come along like London buses now. You're probably going to draw in the World Cup qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I have noticed from Switzerland is the goals are coming from across all the team. The games against Hungary and Scotland and Germany, and of course the 2-0 victory over Italy. I have to be honest, I only saw the highlights of that game, but it seems they are a team that, as I say, goals can come from anywhere, and I think that's where England need to be concerned.
Yeah, that's spot on for this tournament. Like, I've noticed that myself now, that in the past, Switzerland haven't always been a free scoring team, but they always found goals at major tournaments when they needed to. They had a couple of tight games against Serbia at consecutive World Cups, and they needed to score more than one goal to win those games, and they found the goals. But more often than not, there was an over-reliance, certainly on Shaqiri or, Haris Seferovic at the last Euros. There was a lot of pressure on him, and he isn't, or never really was, the striker that could always deliver. He did on occasion, but it was always a frustrating aspect that Switzerland always had to revert back to someone like Shaqiri. I think there was, before the warm-up friendlies, there was a stat that just under 25% of the goals that Switzerland scored in games since Shaqiri made his debut, and at age 18, they were contributed or assisted or scored by Shaqiri. So there was such a large element of Swiss play that goes through Shaqiri and Xhaka for that matter, and that's always been a kind of issue, But I think this tournament's the biggest testament to the fact that it is spread across the team now, because Shaqiri has only played one game, and suddenly we're not looking like we absolutely need him like we have in the past. And we've got guys from Bologna stepping up, like Abisher, who's came out from nowhere and really contributed to this tournament. Dan Ndoye, Remo Freuler, he's always been in and about the team and scored important goals. But again, he's another one. Even Kwadwo Dua, who was a shock start in that first game, he'd only played 45 minutes in a friendly against Estonia. That was his first cap. And then suddenly he's thrown in right away, and he scored in that game against Hungary. So it's really refreshing to see. And then you can call on guys like Mbolo, who's just coming back from a major injury, and Seki Amdouni, who's not featured anywhere near as much as I would have expected. I actually thought he might start the first game. He scored 7 goals and 15 caps and looks like the striker that Switzerland's been missing for a long time. But he's not really been required either, because all these goals are sprinkled through the team. And that's only a good thing. As I say, it's been an element that's been missing, and there's been over-reliance on single players, and now that's not the case. And if anything, that just makes an already strong and solid outfit that much stronger. And maybe that is the kind of ingredient that's going to take Switzerland to even more history.
Yeah, it's certainly where I can see the concern. You say about Switzerland making more history. Do you think they can make more history?
I think they can, but there's obviously, it's again, it comes back to what I said before about these bigger teams. If we're being honest, like in 2020, France should have won. This time around, England probably should win this game. They've got a stronger team. But this is a tournament where surprises happen. They always happen. And if anyone's going to cause a surprise, then the Swiss team's more than capable. England, yourself, they've not played at the level they can.
Yeah.
But there's also the wariness there that they've got players like Kane and Bellingham who can pull them out of the fire. We've seen that against Slovakia. That Slovakia was so close to something really, really historic, and then it was taken away from them with a moment of magic, and then it fell apart. So for Switzerland to make history, they'll need to be as good as they were against Italy, who Italy aren't as good as they've been in the past, and England will be a harder game. But they'll need to be as good as they were then, and they don't, I would say, keep it tight, but Switzerland always end up conceding. And I know they kept a clean sheet against Italy, but they've conceded so many goals at major tournaments. And they'll need a bit of luck on their side. They'll need that moment where England get that chance, like they did against Slovakia. They'll need that luck where it goes by the post or the keeper makes a save or whatever, because it's not going to be easy. And if they get that, then certainly they can do it. There's not going to be any fear that they can't do it. They went to this game believing that they can reach the semi-final. And that's a really strong position for them to be in, because this team has always performed against the bigger teams for the most part. And I've got no doubt that they'll go and put in a good show and a good shift, and hopefully the cards for them will fall in their favour. But again, as I say, it's England are packed with quality players, and if England turn up and suddenly turn that switch on, then it's going to be difficult for Switzerland. But there's no reason why they can't dream that they can do this.
From to round it off quickly, from a tournament perspective, have you enjoyed it so far? Has anything taken your fancy?
Yeah, it's been, I think the final knockout games were a wee bit of a drag, just because with this format, some of the bigger teams seem to kind of down tools a little bit, that they're almost already through. But I think some of the smaller nations, Georgia were really good in the tournament, even Slovakia, Romania, I think they really surprised people with their performances. And I don't think, for the most part, a lot of the bigger teams have had it all their own way. You know, even if they've won, they've struggled through games or had to get winners in the last minute and things like that. I think Spain have probably been the best team overall so far. I don't think any other teams really put out as many consistent performances as they have.
Yeah.
And Austria, I've really enjoyed watching Austria. I think they've been great throughout the group stage. Unlucky against France, really good against Poland, good against Netherlands, and I think they can go far as well. And again, they're obviously on a collision course with England or Switzerland, depending on how it falls on that side. But yeah, Austria have been really good as well. So I think the tournament's had its fair share of good games. I think the bad games have been really rather poor. But yeah, it's been an okay tournament so far.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with the vast majority of that. Craig, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it as always. Don't forget you can follow Craig over on Twitter at FootballSwissEN. Who knows? Maybe our paths will cross again in the future. But yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for your time.
No, hopefully they do. Thanks very much for having me on.
Craig King there. Thank you to him for his time. Do you know what? Hearing people take an interest in other nations isn't so much of a surprise as you may think. Whilst out in Germany, I've seen and heard numerous accents, not native to England, wearing England shirts. Of course, there may be a variety of reasons behind it, but like Craig, they're not so out of place. I myself couldn't do it, but hey, it'd be boring if we were all the same, wouldn't it? Let's leave it there. Thank you as always for tuning in. Always appreciated. Don't forget, you can contribute to the show with your predictions or your reviews. Just open up your phone, say some words, and email me the recording, 3lionspodcast@gmail.com. Okay, I have got a few more days of work left until I head back out to Germany. Dusseldorf this time. Will it be the last time? Or will I get the chance to go to Dortmund? We shall see. So until the next time, take care of yourselves. Cheers.